Hello learners, welcome again. Today we are going to differentiate between metals and nonmetals by seeing their chemical properties. Okay, chemical properties. Before jumping to that, first thing you must know there's a paper which we use as an indicator for things to know whether they are acidic or basic. Okay, it's called as the litmus paper. What is a litmus paper? The main use of litmus paper is to test whether a solution is acidic or basic. Light blue litmus paper turns red under acidic conditions and red litmus paper turns blue in basic conditions. Got it? If it turns into red, it's that solution is acidic. If it turns into blue, then that solution is basic. So remember this, we will need that later. So how are you going to differentiate between a metal and a non-metal by seeing their chemical properties? Simple thing, whenever metal reacts with oxygen, it forms a basic oxides. Whereas when a non-metal reacts with the oxygen, it forms acidic oxides. So how are you going to tell that the oxides of metals are basic and oxides of non-metals are acidic? Simple thing, earlier we discussed about litmus paper. So that litmus paper is white in color when it is normal, and whenever it is dipped into a basic solution or basic medium, it turns blue. Whenever it is dipped into a acidic solution or acidic medium, it turns red. So this can be taken as a property of a metal and a non-metal that we can use to differentiate between them. What's the another property by which we can differentiate metals and non-metals? Simple thing, metals and non-metals react with water differently. That is, metals react with water vigorously. Vigorously means they can catch fire. For example, metals like sodium and potassium. Whereas some non-metals reacts in air and can catch fire but do not react with water. Example, phosphorus. That's why phosphorus is stored in water. But all metals do not react with water in the same way. That is, not like sodium and potassium. You might have heard about a word called rust. You can see rusting in iron materials, only it is a slow reaction. So how are you going to conclude this here? Simple thing, metals react with water whereas non-metals do not react with water. Another properties of metals and non-metals is that when they react with acids. So simple thing, metals when they react with acids, they release hydrogen gas and they do react with acids, whereas non-metals they do not show any reaction. Got my point? So how are we going to know that the released gas when metal reacts with acids is hydrogen gas? So simple thing, we will perform a simple experiment. Take a test tube. In that test tube, fill it with a dilute HCl, dilute hydrochloric acid, and take iron fillings in it. So when you put the iron fillings inside the dilute HCl taken in a test tube, close the mouth of the test tube and keep it away from your face. Now lit a matchstick and bring it near the mouth of the test tube, you will hear the popping sound. So that popping sound is coming due to the release of hydrogen gas when iron reacts with dilute HCl. Whereas if we repeat the same example, that is same experiment, by using carbon or graphite. So the graphite doesn't react with dilute HCl and also doesn't produces hydrogen gas. So hence we can conclude that hydrogen gas is not released when non-metals are treated with acids. Now let us see what happens when metals and non-metals reacts with base. Simple thing. Here the same thing happens when metal reacts with a base, it again releases hydrogen gas, whereas non-metals when treated with a base gives a more complex reaction that you're gonna learn in your higher studies. One of the properties of metals is that they displace other metal from their solution. So that is, we can perform a simple experiment over here. Take a test tube and in that fill it with copper sulfate solution. So remember, copper sulfate is blue in color. Let me color it for you. In that copper sulfate, insert a nail, iron nail. So remember, the surface of the iron nail will be shiny. Okay, when you dip that nail inside the copper sulfate solution, leave it for some hours and then observe the part of the nail which is dipped inside the copper sulfate solution is now turned into brown in color. That brown coating is nothing but copper getting deposited on the surface of the nail, and the color of this solution, which was earlier blue, now it becomes little bit green. If you observe here, the nail which is not dipped inside the copper sulfate solution is still shiny. So this concludes the chemical properties of metals and non-metals. To sum it up, we can say that metals reacts with oxygen to form basic oxides. How are we going to know that? So simple thing, when metals reacts with oxygen, they form a solution. If you make a solution of a metal oxide and if you dip a red litmus paper into it, it turns into blue. Next thing, they form a acidic solutions. That is, they turn the blue litmus paper into red. Next, reaction with water. So metals like sodium and potassium reacts with water vigorously, but also other metals reacts slowly. Remember, rusting of iron. Whereas non-metals, they do not react with water. Okay. Reaction with acids. So acids as well as bases, when metal reacts with these things, they release hydrogen gas. Whereas non-metals reacts with acids and there is no change when they react with acids, and when they react with a base there are more complex reactions. And last one, remember, metals show displacement reactions. That is, a metal can displace another metal from its solution, whereas non-metals do not show displacement reaction. Hope you have understood the concept and I tried making it so easy for you. Do subscribe to my channel and also introduce my channel to your children as well. Thank you so much. Signing off. Happy learning.